So, I know the European Union is not perfect. I am not a fan of bureaucracy, but I think we have to work with what we've got. I visited those refugee camps around Europe, and these problems are on our shores. And if we maintain kind of an outward view of yesteryear, that we're an island on our own, frankly, that's not our moral duty. Our neighbours' problems are our problems, and I believe the only way we'll fix that if we work together as part of a European team.
And it's not just those issues, it's the massive issues, climate change, resource depletion. They can only be dealt with internationally. We have to be part of a really good EU, being part of that international effort to conquer those things.
And Europe has led on a lot of climate change,
absolutely,
hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, actually, and also human rights, because if you think about the European Union, one of the kind of key purposes of its being in the first place was to actually guarantee that all members who join have to adhere to the human rights.
Standards,
and so for that reason, it's actually about developing that and protecting it for the future.
And that's probably worth saying, because I know a lot of people are nervous about Turkey potentially joining because of some of their human rights issues. How many more hoops have Turkey got to jump through before they'd be allowed? So absolutely, it sets that standard, doesn't it, around what we expect from member states.
Do you not think, though, that most people are going to make a decision that they're willing to vote in or out, literally from their gut, from their own the impact it will have on their own lives?
Yep.
So actually, from my point of view, my main reason, my first reason, is entirely selfish. I think that I'm going to be worse off financially if we leave the EU.
Because you have your own business.
Because I'm my own business, I have to pay a mortgage. I need services delivered to my business and so on. And I know it's selfish, but actually I think that you have a responsibility to your family, to your community, and all the rest of it, to actually make sure that you're doing the best that you can. And I think the best that you can do in this circumstance is to vote in.
But it's not selfish, Sebastian, because when people run businesses, they employ people, and employed people have money in their pockets to spend in our community, so it's not selfish at all.
And secondly, to have a free market that works effectively means that actually everyone benefits anyone. So the idea, of course, your business here does well because the business in Poland, the business in France, business in Italy does well. It's about being part of a big community, and that's why I think also people should really take seriously by leaving. They lose out on that.
I thought also, actually, the point that you made about the historical impact of World War II. Actually, many generations that are still here. My parents' and grandparents' generation, fought and died for the freedom of Europe. And actually, one of the things that came out of that was the creation of the EU directly, and the fact that we still have genocide in Europe in our lifetimes, Srebrenica and stuff, is an indication of how fragile actually history can be. And for the memory of those people who died, I think it's important to vote in.
I think from the other gut perspective, a lot of people may be voting no because they are so fed up with the huge amount of bureaucracy. But I'm, like Heidi said earlier, absolutely wanting reform. So just because I'm voting yes doesn't mean I believe that the European Union doesn't need fundamental reform. It does need to evolve, it does need to be positively reformed. But we need something. If it didn't exist, we'd have to invent it again.
And actually, there's no reason we can't be part of that reform inside Europe, rather
absolutely.
than walking away and criticising.
And this is the bit that really makes me smile, when people moan about the bureaucracy, and these are all the reasons we need to get out. But then on the same token, they go, and they'll just come up with a new trade deal for Britain on its own. This bureaucratic machine suddenly will have the impetus and the energy to create that.
We are one of the greatest nations, in history, in certainly the world. Why should we not be leading?
Absolutely.
And why isn't it better to lead from inside rather than to be outside going, actually, I don't want to play anymore, it's me.
It's not leadership,
and actually, the whole point about European reform, okay, it needs reforming. Our own political system is not without criticism, let's be honest.
Yeah.
There are bits of that need reforming.
And the EU is at least using a proportional representation system.
Which is, as we know, Simon's big thing.
Yeah,
if I could maybe just finally address...
Let's wave that one.
Can I address the elephant in the room? The elephant in the green space that we are in now. And I think where the In campaign has done a really poor job, we're on the back foot about immigration. Accept that, yes, we the manifesto promises we made about immigration, we had no hope of delivering. But guess what? When people moan about, well, I can't get into hospital because of, overpopulation, or I can't get a house because of overpopulation, who do you think is working in those hospitals?
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to help build those houses?
Who's running Addenbrooke's?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, immigration has two sides. But I think if our economy were performing better when we had large amounts of European immigration, noticed.
Well, there's that, and also education, because actually if you look at some of the areas that do suffer when it comes to poverty, sometimes lower education standards. That's also tends to be where people tend to be against immigration, which also coincidentally is places where it is the least immigration. So education, I think, is a huge part of that
Very
battle,
much so.
and that hasn't maybe happened in the past, but it should in the future certainly. But it doesn't mean we leave Europe though.
No. So all agreed? We're
So
in?
the message is
Yeah, we're in.
vote
Vote in.
Vote
Vote
in.
in.